Good morning, everyone, and thank you for welcome, first of all, to this webinar on HR analytics. And thank you for taking your time off to be on a Saturday to spend some time with us. I'm Ramesh Ranjan. I'm one of the co-founders of the Global HR community, and I'm also glad to have my other founders, Mr. S.V. Nathan and then Shrikant also on this call. So I'll just give you a very brief introduction about the global HR community so that you know where we come from. Uh, I will just I will start by playing a video to give you a brief about what our. I think I should share the audio, right? Okay. So can you all hear the audio?
No.
You're not able to hear the audio?
The audio is not playing.
Yeah,
Video.
yeah, I have to share the sound.
Welcome to the
Now?
global HR community. GHRC,
Yeah, now we can.
where human resource professionals meet, share, and grow. At GHRC, we bridge worlds by connecting HR experts, business leaders, people managers, academicians, students, entrepreneurs, and HR service providers from every corner of the globe. Built on the pillars of eConnect, Learn, and Grow, our community offers unparalleled networking opportunities and a platform for professional development and personal growth. Continuous learning is at the heart of GHRC, facilitated through our rich library resources, engaging webinars, and the interactive GHRC Academy. Need reliable HR services, innovative digital products, or unique merchandise? Or maybe you're exploring new job opportunities. Dive into our GHRC directory, marketplace, and job board. It's your one-stop destination for all things HR. Don't miss our GHR Talk Show, where thought leaders and industry experts discuss the latest HR trends and challenges. Join the global HR community today. Be part of a network that's reshaping the HR landscape. Visit www.globalhrcommunity.com to start your journey with us. GHRC, where HR connects, learns, and grows.
So that gives you an idea about what the global HR community is all about. I'll just spend a few more minutes to explain a little more in detail. As we have shared, we are a global digital community platform where we bring together the HR professionals, people managers, business leaders, organizations, entrepreneurs, academicians, students, and faculty members together, basically to connect, learn, and grow, and in the process to share knowledge, fostering innovation, and promoting holistic development and growth. Our vision is to help our members to fulfill their purpose, pursue their passion, and optimize their potential in the journey of life, and ultimately to make them a responsible citizen of the community. Our goal is to help our members to bring life to work. So, what does GHRC offers to you through our platform and through our community initiatives? First is we help our members to discover themselves uh, through a very detailed profile that we have, and then we're building tools for people to discover their purpose, their passion, and to build their life portfolio. The platform and the community also helps our members to connect through a networking, forming groups, forging meaningful relationships to a global network of HR professionals, so that through the collective and collaborative experiences, you can broaden your perspectives in the field of people management. The community also offers through the platform opportunity for people to continuously learn and upskill themselves. We have courses, webinars, Shortly, we're going to have events and conferences that will be curated by the Global HR Academy. Besides that, we have also tied up with another company and white tabled our upskilling program, where we offer about 150,000 courses covering about 1,800 skills and about 2,400 job roles, which helps the members to continuously look for upskilling and keep them abreast of what's happening in the latest trends and knowledge. The community and the platform through the job boards helps people to grow, gives opportunities for students to look at career opportunities and internships, and it supports members in terms of career growth and encourages us, everybody to be at the forefront of innovation and leadership. And lastly, we also have an opportunity for our members to pay back to the society, to the community, and to the world at large through our CSR initiatives. We have tied up with a company called Indie Village, which is into a rural upskilling program. They have centers in about 10 places across the country. So people or members of the GHRC can contribute by participating in the CSR initiatives. Besides that, you have an opportunity to contribute to our repository of library through participating in hackathons, where we bring in corporate challenges and offer it to our members to solve them through a gamification program. People also have opportunities to conduct participate and also to lead in the various research initiatives that we are launching. And of course, you have an opportunity to coach and mentor. So this is what a GHRC as a community and a platform has to offer. Just to reiterate what we said in terms of discover, we have the profile, the purpose, the passion, the assessment, and the life portfolio on our platform. Our platform also helps you to connect, as we said, make meaningful connections, follow thought leaders and other members, join networks and groups, explore the HR directory to look for potential HR product and service providers, look for events through our event calendar, and then, of course, you can shop around on the digital marketplace. As we said, our GHRC Academy has a repository of curated courses for the people management side. We have opportunities for you to upskill. You can also learn through a repository of white papers, articles, and of course, through the webinars, like the one that we are conducting today. And as we said before, through this process, we enable our members to grow by participating in various forums, scouting for job opportunities and internships, and also through the coaching and mentoring program that will be offered by our members on the platform. And last but not the least, as I said, there's an opportunity for people to contribute by contributing towards research, towards the knowledge repository of articles, papers, case studies, white papers. You can also contribute by co-creating courses with the GHRC Academy, by being a coach and a mentor, and also participate in hackathons. And lastly, also offer your services through the CSR initiatives. I will just briefly play a small video about the features.
Welcome to the global HR community. You've taken a significant step towards enriching your professional journey in a community dedicated to the values of connecting globally, learning continuously, and growing collectively. To begin your GHRC experience, please take a moment to complete your profile in all respects, including the extended profile, to help you to curate and provide personalized content based on your profile. Start by networking with other members. Make new professional friends and connect, follow, and message them in private. Take a moment to explore our wide array of offerings, tailored specifically to meet your needs. Start with our library. Discover a wealth of resources, from insightful articles to in-depth studies, all designed to keep you informed and engaged. Enroll in academy programs. Enhance your expertise through our bespoke courses and certifications, tailored to the needs of HR professionals at all levels. Browse the directory. Connect with a wide array of HR service providers to find solutions that meet your professional or organizational needs. Explore job opportunities. Whether you're seeking a new role or looking to fill one, our job board is the go-to resource for career opportunities within the HR community. Visit the store. Access our exclusive store for essential HR digital ebooks and physical merchandises useful for daily needs. Check out our events. Discover webinars, programs, conferences, and live events tailored to your interests and professional development needs. Keep track of what's happening in the global HR community on the news feed. Share updates and interact with fellow professionals by liking and commenting on their posts. Engage in groups and forums. Participate and join specialized forums and groups to discuss HR trends, share insights, and solve challenges collaboratively. Remember, you will be rewarded for active participation on the community through our gamification program. Remember, GHRC is more than a community. It's a movement towards building a more connected, knowledgeable, and skilled HR world. We are here to support your professional development at every turn. If you have any questions, reach out to suba@globalcommunity.com. Welcome to the global HR community.
Okay, so that gives you an idea of what the features which are available on the global HR community. So again, just to reiterate what is it for me when you become a member of the global HR community. First, we help you to discover who you are in all spheres of life, be it professional or personal or social. Forge meaningful relationships through Connect with a diverse global network of HR professionals, starting from students to business leaders to CXOs and transcending geographical boundaries. You can also, as part of what's in it for me, learn, right? Dive into a world of continuous learnings with access to webinars, virtual events, a wealth of curated HR knowledge to keep you at the forefront of the field. Grow through develop a well-rounded professional and personal profile showcasing your achievements and passions in an environment that promotes holistic development. And lastly, as we said, share your unique perspectives and expertise to the community through our payback programs. So we would like all of you all to consider to embrace your people journey with the GHRC. Join our thriving community today to supercharge your career, connect with global experts, access exclusive resources, and lead the charge in redefining people management and excellence worldwide. So, any quick questions before we move on to the main topic of our analytics? Any questions on the global HR community? We'd be happy to. Okay, so we'll get now to the main point of our program, the main topic of our program, which is about measuring the ROI on investment made on people. This is a short webinar, which is designed for about 75 minutes. I will take you through today in terms of an introduction, data, the new oil in HR. How do we integrate HR strategy with business strategy? How do you develop business impact HR metrics? How do we understand the correlation between variables, various HR variables? And of course, time permits, we'll have quick interactive discussions and Q&A. So this is the agenda for the next 75 minutes. So what do you think is a new oil? You know, in the 70s or 60s, 70s, and 80s, people felt that petroleum was the new oil. What do you think is the new oil today in the 21st century?
Information.
Okay. You're bang on, right? So data is a new oil. And, you know, data is also driving the future of HR. And that's what we're going to see in the next 75 minutes. You know, Peter Singran was the first one who talked about it. He said information is the oil of the 21st century and analytics the combustion engine, right? And closer home, Mukesh Ambani said this: data is not only the new oil, but data is also the new soil. And that is how, Geo, when we hit the pandemic, when the rest of the world was struggling for survival, Reliance Geo, which was at a debt of 125 lakh crores during the pandemic between 2019 and 2020, raised almost $225 million, 2 lakh 25,000 crores of funding, and then overcame their deficit. And companies like WhatsApp, like Facebook, like Microsoft, like Google, Alphabet, Amazon, Blackstone, and every other company invested in Geo because they believed that they can ride the information wave or the internet wave in India, and they saw data as the new oil for them to cash in on. So precisely what these companies are. What does Google do? What does Amazon do? What does Airbnb or Facebook or Uber? They are all playing with data. They are aggregators of data and then analyzing that data, seeing trends and passing on the trends to the consumer and the producer. And in the process, everybody is making money from the consumer to the producer and also the aggregators. So Edward Deming, the father of quality management, has said that in God we trust, but all others must bring data. So unless our decisions, our views, our points are backed by data, people are not going to trust you. Having said that, 70% of the chief executives drawn from 600 companies agreed that people were their firm's most important asset. But only 10% said that they consider people issues in the same way as the tradition, as the finance and other functions. We all know that natural resources can be bought, capital can be borrowed, technology can be copied or even bought, but it's ultimately the people at the workplace who are going to make a difference between success and failure. And we all swear that the real competitive advantage in any business comes from people. But having said this, despite the fact that all of us believe and swear that people are the only competitive advantage, and as Dave Wilcock also said, people are our greatest asset. Look at the balance sheet. Where do you think HR figures or people data figures on the balance sheet? Where does people data or HR figures on the balance sheet? Where is people on the balance sheet? It is shown as liability, right? And if you really see, it's a small line item among the thousands of data which are presented on the balance sheet. The people side is hardly represented and shown on the liability side. Despite, yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, despite the fact that we swear that HR is the people are the greatest asset, but when it comes to financial accounting, when it comes to business accounting, people related data is reported as a liability on the balance sheet. So the reason is because, as the Human Capital Management Institute has said, without appropriate levels of analytics and tools, there is a continuing wake of destructive activity as organizations move from one extreme in overhiring to the other, recurring layoffs and reduction. We are seeing that every other day. We are seeing large companies laying off people at one point of time, and at another point of time going and hiring like anyone. So the SHRM has said this, we have not yet reached a level where it can consistently and quantitatively demonstrate the linkage to value creation, causing many CEOs and CFOs to view HR skeptically as a necessary expense. The problem has been that we are not able to articulate what is it that we do in HR that actually impacts the business or drives business results. And precisely for that reason why CFOs, CEOs, and CXOs largely view HR as a necessary expense. And as Chris Agris said, Human resource programs no longer need to be based on soft reasoning, but should be analytical and as data driven as any other management discipline. For too long, I think we believe that we are dealing with humans, we're dealing with emotions, and therefore we need to drive HR through our gut. But time has come now when many people are now demanding that HR, in addition to being driven by gut, we also need to be driven through data. And I think there was a very interesting article on this by Shrikant in today's LinkedIn. You can go look at the latest article on this, the gut feeling and decision-based database decisions. So the father of analytics, Jack Phil, he was the first one who talked about HR analytics. He was the first book which was published by HR analytics way back in the early 1990s. So he said that to assume that a work has value without offering any supporting data is arrogant and a dereliction of duty. It is also dangerous. Why do you think every economic downturn decimates functions such as training? Because no reported value. As I said before, we do a lot of great initiatives in HR. We have a lot of programs, but we are not able to articulate how is it that these initiatives and programs are adding value to the business or what value it brings to the table. For too long, we felt that we don't have to support it with data, and we got away with it. But now organizations are demanding that for every initiative and programs that we suggest or bring to the table, we also need to support it with data to suggest how is it's adding value to the economy and to the business. So it's well understood now that if you can't measure it, you can't understand it. If you can't understand it, you can't control it. And if you can't control it, you can't improve it. So we are living in a world of continuous improvement. So if we are not able to measure it, how are we going to continuously improve it? And that's why the key for data-based HR management. I want to ask all of you all a question. When I say metrics, what is your feeling?
A measure?
Okay. I meant by emotions.
No. Sorry?
I meant emotions. When we talk about metrics, how comfortable are we? Are we very comfortable or are we very uncomfortable about it? Because believe me,
comfortable, of course.
Yeah, because many people say that I joined HR because I like working with people and not numbers. Right? Many of us are not very savvy with numbers. We are not very comfortable with numbers. But can we survive in today's world without being comfortable with numbers? So HR needs to start embracing data science, need to start talking with data, and need to get very familiar with numbers. So for us, to admit to clients, otherwise, what are we doing? We are trying to admit to the clients and senior managers that the impact of human resource cannot be measured. That's not true. If you do that, what are we trying to communicate? That saying that HR programs don't add value. If we do not measure it, we cannot control it, and if we cannot improve it, what are we trying to communicate? That HR programs don't add value, or that the HR department should not be held accountable for its impact, be it positive or negative, on the organization's bottom line. So I want to quickly ask you all, how many metrics can you readily think of? If I were to ask you all, I guess most of you all are HR professionals or people managers. If you have to measure HR, what are some of the metrics that you can think of? How many metrics can you think of?
You mean what are the things that should be measured?
Yeah, from a people point of view, from an HR point of view. In terms of
Job
numbers.
satisfaction, productivity.
Yeah, just give me some numbers. What do you think? 10, 20, 100? How much metrics can you think of and write it down at a later point of time?
It depends on the depth to which you want to go to.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
I agree, but let's assume that you're going to sit down and write down all the metrics that How much do you think you can?
To start with, I think roughly around 20 to start with. And then
Okay,
you can
anyone
go
else?
on.
See, that's the challenge, right, for HR. We do so much, but when we come to measurable, quantifiable metrics, our friend says only 20. Someone else maybe say 30. And believe me, I have done this workshop with CHROs, seasoned professionals who've been in industry and profession for 20 plus years. Even they struggle. They probably the maximum that have come off is 30 or 40. Believe me, in one of the workshops which I did, at the end of the workshop, people were able to relate 450 metrics. That's a record that I've had. And I've written a book on HR analytics. I will share a little more of it in the end. I have listed 350 HR metrics that can be thought of at each stage of the employee life cycle. So we have not been very comfortable with numbers. We have not been very comfortable in terms of relating to business by talking the business language. And that's precisely why HR and people related information is just a one liner on the balance sheet. And I think it's about time that we change. Otherwise, we are going to be in trouble.
Ramesh,
So,
sometimes if we are going to look at such a wide variety of metrics, don't we lose focus and don't we, the reason why I said maybe 20, that could be the top 20 metrics that any
right.
leader might want to see or wish to see. If I go to my CEO with a laundry list of HR metrics, he
I,
might not really be happy to look at the entire list, right? So I might have to still look at what makes most business relevance,
I
and
agree.
how it's impacting the overall business, right?
I, I fully agree with you. But the intention then was, do we know that every stage of the employee life cycle, how do we measure? And how do we demonstrate to business that how is it that HR can be measured at the various activities, various initiatives at the various stages of an employee life cycle? That's what I was trying to drive. Believe
Right.
me, when we ask people, okay, even if it's a laundry list, can you write down the laundry list? People struggle beyond 20, 30, or 40.
Hmm.
Whereas you saw,
Hmm.
I told you about the balance sheet. You take a sales report, those
Right.
numbers run into pages.
Right.
Anyway, we can have this debate, Preeti. I understand where you're coming from. I am
Yeah.
not for one suggesting that you give a laundry list of information to the CEO or the CXOs. They're not going to read it. And that's what I'm going to share with you in the second half of this session.
Sure.
So the critical question is, why would you want to measure human resources? Be it a HR professional, be it a business manager, or be a CEO, why would you want to measure HR human resources? Basically, we want to measure because we want to know what's the value that we add. What value does HR as a function add? What value do people add? And that's the critical question that business and leaders are asking. So if you see here, there's a paradox over here. The seniors, the CXOs and the CEOs want to capitalize on workforce potential, basically, right? I do not know whether, I just want to ask you, an average human being, how much of his potential do you think he or her is utilizing? As per research and data, what is the average uh, realization of one's potential of an average human being? How much do you think? Any guess?
Maybe around 50% or
Less than
lesser than
10%.
that. I mean, it's a wild guess.
Yeah. I'll guess it's like about 30 to 40%, I think.
Less than
Okay.
30%.
The research says it's less than 10%. An average human being in his life, in his or her lifetime, only operates at about 8 to 10% of the potential. A person with a very high IQ, very highly enabled person, maybe a Elon Musk, you would have seen an article I published today, who sleeps only 2 hours a day. Maybe he's operating at about 14 to 18%. And I was told that Einstein has one of the highest IQ in the world. He's about 18% or 20% IQ. So we are only operating about 10% on an average. So there's so much of scope for us to, liberate the other aspect of our potential. That's what the CEOs and executive want. How can I capitalize on the workforce potential? So, as I said, we are moving on now from being operational to strategic Now the world is all about data driven, and therefore HR is also data driven. We're moving towards a data driven HR. The art of science is now being, the art of HR is being replaced by science. For long, people were debating whether HR is an art or a science. While we still debate about it, the world believes that HR has to be more science driven rather than an art. There are a lot of business questions in terms of where are we going and how will we get there. As you can see, what are the participants' reactions? How does this compare to last year? How do we compare to the competition? What metrics appear to be moving together, right? What happened because of my investment? If we make changes, what will happen? What actions can be taken to generate the best results? So the complexity is increasing day by day, and these can only be addressed through data and in a scientific way. While I don't deny the fact that we are dealing with humans, we are dealing with emotions, there is going to be the art part of it, but largely going forward, it has to be driven more through data than through the gut feeling. So then that brings us to the topic of what is of HR analytics. So what is HR analytics? It's basically a systematic identification and quantification of the people drivers of business outcomes. As you all know, people is one of the greatest asset and they're one of the prime drivers of business outcomes. So now how do we identify which are the drivers and how do we quantify them in a systematic and professional way is what HR analytics is all about. So it's to put it another way, it's about quantifying the cost and the impact of employee programs, both quantifiable and non-quantifiable. To quantify the cost of various HR processes and measure the success of HR initiatives, many times what we do, we are able to quantify the cost of HR processes, but we are not able to measure the success of HR initiatives. Measure the times on the money spent, right? And then also to track some of the trends. A simple metric which we're talking about, say, cost per hire, right? The sum of external costs is basically all the recruitment and hiring cost, and the internal cost, which is basically the training cost, divided by the total number of people hired during a time period. So people may wonder, why do I have to embrace HR analytics? Why do I have to study HR analytics? Why is it a hot topic? Believe me, in the current market, if somebody is specialized in data science and analytics, their job has a premium, at least 25% to 30% premium when compared to others. So if you're a generalist in HR, and if you're getting a salary of say 25 lakhs, but if you're a HR analytics specialist, you will get a 25%, 30% jump in your salary. So the reason being is primarily why we need to understand analytics is to create a linkage between the HR initiatives and its impact on the business. How do we measure the ROI and investments made in human capital? In knowledge companies, IT companies, service industries, BFSI, the labor cost forms a large part of its expenditure, sometimes going as high as 45-50% of the cost of a company is in people. So business leaders want to know, by having spent so much of money on hiring people, what is the ROI we're getting out of them? To the extent that, many companies, the recruitment function no longer now reports to HR. That's a bad news. In many of the IT companies, the recruitment function reports to business into a specific area called as a resource management group, who are responsible for managing the workforce planning for the hiring. It's just the execution part sometimes is given to the HR, but the strategic part of it is still lies with the business, primarily because they want to know the ROI on investments made in human capital. Of course, another reason why we need to understand analytics is to measure the success of investments made in people. We spend a lot of money on people, and therefore we need to know, for the money spent on the various initiatives and programs, how successful has it been and how can you quantify those success. And then, of course, to measure operational efficiency like any other function, in terms of cost, in terms of quality, and in terms of delivery. And I think the most important part are these last 2 points which I talk about it. Primarily, HR analytics helps you in terms of building HR credibility. Due to paucity of time, I wanted to share with you one of the companies that I work where I was entrusted with establishing the HR shared services. We had some huge challenges in terms of credibility when I started that particular shared services, global shared services. But then later on, I embarked on a program called the Voice of Internal Customer Experience, where we measured at every stage of the employee life cycle the various initiatives what the HR shared services had organized, and then go back and seek a feedback and measure the success at each stage of the employee life cycle, and go back and share the data to the business. Surprisingly, we found that from the common perception to actual data, there was a wide gap. And over a period of time, when we were able to showcase this particular analytics to the business and to the other stakeholders, our satisfaction rate of HR went up from about 3.2 to about 3.7 in a span of 1 year. So it helped us to establish credibility because I now had data to go back and show to people what is it that HR does and how is it that's impacting business and how is it I'm able to measure the success. And as a result of that, because we became credible, HR became a trusted partner. So when we went to business, sought for some intervention, sought for some investments, people now saw us credible and therefore were willing to trust us, trust our judgment, and trust our initiatives. So as you all know, the information maturity curve, initially analytics started off as just as reporting, right? Basically data, collecting data and then reporting it. Basically what's happening, trying to understand what's happening. And thereafter, in the second phase, analytics was about trying to understand why is it happening. Now that I got data, why is it happening? And then, of course, thanks to technology, now it's all about what might happen, what we're talking about predictive analytics. So if you wonder how analytics works at a very high level, it's about collecting data. It's about extracting data and manipulating data. Don't look at manipulation in the context of negative connotation, but in the context of a positive. It's about analyzing, where you visualize what's happening, building models and optimization. Then you can also look at insights from the data. Do I see some insight? Do I see some trend? Do I see some patterns? So that you can see what will happen and what should happen. And then based on that, what can you prescribe in the form of action? What are some of the operational decisions that can be taken? What are some of the re-engineering or process changes needs to happen? And what are some of the strategies that we need to formulate to ensure that things don't happen or happen the way we want it? So we need to understand there are different dimensions of HR analytics. This is what I find that many people don't realize it. So as Fiona Wu said, the former CEO of HP and now a politician, she said the idea is to turn data into information and information into insight. So the first is, I think we need to understand what are we looking at analytics for? What are we looking at analytics in the form of stages? Which stage are we in? Are we looking at in terms of what happened? Why did it happen? Or what can happen? Or are we looking at or approaching analytics in the form of mindset? So you do have a reporting mindset, or are you looking at it with an analytical mindset, or are you looking at it in a strategic mindset? You also need to know what are you trying to measure, what are you trying to analyze? Is it something descriptive? Are you looking at it in terms of diagnostic, or for predictive, or for prescriptive? And then what are you trying to measure? Are you trying to measure efficiency? Are you trying to measure effectiveness? Or are you trying to measure impact? You can also look at it in the time horizon of hindsight, of insight and foresight. And lastly, of course, you can look at it in the context of how do you want to use the analytics in terms of role? Do you want to use analytics as a control function? Or are you looking at analytics in the context of services? Or are you looking at analytics in the context of taking decisions? So these are the different dimensions by which you can look at the HR analytics. Again, as I said, due to paucity of time, I'm just rushing through because normally this program is a 2-day program or a 3-day program. I'm trying to encapsulate it in a short 75-minute webinar. So just to highlight one of the points which I talked about it, are you looking at HR analytics in the context of efficiency or effectiveness impact? When we talk about efficiency, what are we talking about? We're looking at what are the resources, be it financial or non-resource, that should be considered for efficiency. What should be the appropriate level of investments that we should make, and how should the investable resources be allocated to maximize results? And having been efficient is just not enough. Are we being effective in what we are doing? And then, of course, ultimately, we need to find out whether what we have done efficiently and effectively, how is it impacting the business? So here are some examples of that, as I was trying to say. So if you see here, in terms of efficiency, we are basically talking about what are the various HR processes, right? Efficiency in terms of how are we doing well in terms of manpower planning or workforce planning? How are we doing in terms of hiring and selection, remuneration, benefits or compensation, about training and development, about mobility and talent management, performance management, or team management? Now, having a good HR process and system, has it been able to deliver effectively to business? That's what we're talking about. Has it led to good engagement? Has it led to better retention? Has it improved our absenteeism? Has it helped us to decrease the accident rate in the manufacturing side? Has our process helped in terms of effectively increasing our competence level in the human capital that we have? Has it helped improve employee performance or ultimately bring down the cost of labor? And as a result of that, what's been the effect or the impact on the business in terms of organizational goals? How has it helped in terms of improving our turnover, in terms of profit or market value, or market share, productivity, quality, customer satisfaction, and so on and so forth. So this is what one example of how the different dimensions of HR analytics that you can look at. Are you looking at analytics in the context of looking at how efficiently we are driving our HR processes, or how effectively are able to deliver to business in the context of all these engagement, retention, absenteeism, and others? And then ultimately, how are we able to impact the business results in terms of revenue growth, top line, bottom line, market value, market share, and others? Any quick questions? Okay. So, like any other function, I think HR analytics starts with the business strategy. We first need to understand, right? It should be connected to the strategic objectives. We need to start with understanding the organizational strategy. We need to create a strategy map, and then we need to be able to create the HR metrics. Believe me, I've been 40 years in the business of HR and people management. One of the often quoted uh, comments about business leaders is that HR doesn't understand business. We are falling short in terms of business acumen, in terms of financial acumen. And that's why, if you see, in most organizations, HR doesn't find a seat at the board. The board is the ultimate decision-making body of an organization. And in the board, there are not many HR professionals on the board. The reason is we are not able to understand business, and then we are not able to speak the business language. So we need to ask what are the business metrics, and then to help achieve those business metrics, what are all the initiatives the HR is going to do, and then how are we going to measure that? So this is a simple example, a complex example of start with strategy, not with data. So in this particular case, the strategy of the business is to grow the business by 20%, to expand to new markets, cut operating costs. I'm not going to go into depth. So for that, we need to ask the right questions, and then we need to answer based on either facts or gut feelings, and then we need to take action. And then as a result of the action, we need to understand and demonstrate how is it that the action impacts business in terms of growth, in terms of cost reduction or effective leadership and productivity. On a simpler note, this gives you how we can link our HR benchmarks and metrics to business. So in this particular case, it says grow the business by 14%. So the strategy is to develop an agile, high-performing workforce. So what are some of the strategic HR objectives? Talent acquisition and retention, employee development and succession planning, and performance management and rewards. If we do this well, what are the outcomes? We help impact time to market, sustainability of the business, and business performance. So then we are saying, if you see the last box, the gray box, which we're talking about, what are the metrics which are going to support this? How am I going to go back to business and say that I did a great job in talent acquisition or employee development and succession planning or performance management? Some of these metrics is what we're going to use. The average time to hire, how does my leadership pipeline look like? What is the revenue per employee? What is the employee satisfaction rate, the employee engagement index rate? How many patents per employee? What are the costs per employee? What are the time saved through automation and reengineering? And what are some of the error reduction rates? So this is how we build your HR metrics to the strategic objectives, which are ultimately linked to the HR strategy and to the business strategy. And at the same time, also demonstrating to business the outcomes of our HR initiatives and how it's impacting the various aspects of the business. So now I get to the second part of my presentation where we're talking about metrics. These are your standard HR metrics as our friends started sharing in the beginning of this program, and I asked you how many metrics do you know? Most HR people, this is research data, the top 10 HR metrics that most people talk about, right? Turnover, cost per hire, time to fill, employee engagement, absenteeism rate, training and development, employee net promoter score, employee productivity, diversity and inclusion, and benefit participation rate. Believe me, in a board meeting or in a leadership strategic meeting, the percentage of time that HR has got. Can anyone share their experience? How much of time do they spend in board meetings or in your business leadership meetings, quarterly reviews? How much of time does HR get? Probably we'll get about 10 to 15% or not more than that, right? So as Preeti was saying, I can't go back with a laundry list of metrics and then show it to the business. Nobody's going to care about it, right? So now, what is it that I need to present so that I grab the attention of my CEO and my CXO? So what are the metrics that your CEO wants to see? That's what I'm going to share with you through this, what I call as the oh my God metrics. So the primary goal of us when we report data or a report scorecard or metrics should be, our primary goal is to get you to rethink and to challenge your current metrics approach. Another goal is to clearly demonstrate the difference between what I call as so what metrics, the previous slide, approach, and an oh my God actionable business impact metric. So how do I convert those so what matrices into an actionable business impact metric, what I call as oh my God? What we mean by oh my God metric? Attention grabbing, it should be able to grab the attention of the CEO from the maze of numbers and reports that's got. How do I grab his attention? It drives action both from an HR point of view, from a finance point of view, and from a business point of view. And then ultimately it should be able to measure, improve business results. So whatever metrics that we are looking and tracking, it should be able to demonstrate how is it helping improve the business results. And the third goal is to show you the high business impact HR areas that most CEOs would want to know about. So these are the three goals why we need to shift from a so what metrics, which is your routine run-of-the-mill scorecards and dashboards and metrics, to what I call as an oh my God actionable business impact metric. See, these are your standard metrics, right? What I call as a so what metrics. They generate no action on or interest on part of the CEO. Offer acceptance rate, number of training hours offered, compensation cost per employee, workers' compensation cost. A standard report in most organizations has this. And it's, as you saw in the picture, the person at the other end is probably going to yawn. It's not going to trigger any interest or excitement in the particular person. So what? Everyone knows about this. So we're shifting to a second kind of bad metric. I want to ask you all, is a high or a low number a better metric? For example, if I say the cost per hire, I reduce my cost per hire, is it good or bad? Because cheap hire may mean low quality hires. Last year I used to spend 18,000 to 22,000 rupees cost per hire. There was a lot of pressure from the CEO and from CFO that HR needs to drive about 5% in terms of cost reduction. And therefore, I went and pressurized my recruitment team to bring in people at a lower cost. And the recruitment team did a great job at reducing the cost of hire and brought it down from 22,000 to 18,000. But then later on during the year, we found that they were cheap quality, low hires. The performance rating on an average, which was probably in the past was about 4.2, came down to about 3.5. Time to fill, right? The normal time to fill, say 60 days. There's been a lot of pressure from business saying I want to bring it down to 40 days. So HR might tap its back and say we did a great job by bringing down the time to fill from 60 to 40, but it may end up in terms of being careless hiring, of getting people whom we didn't want to, or people who are good at it, we brought ordinary performers into the organization. Benefit costs, again, right? There's a lot of pressure on HR to reduce costs because our top line is not growing. We may have reduced the benefit cost, but in the long run, it may have hurt our retention. Similarly, absent rate. There's been a lot of pressure on the HR in the manufacturing, that I need to improve my absenteeism. But then we realized that people who are sick have been forced to come to work to office, and then they're spreading the sickness to all others. Tenure, again, right? And the turnover. Many times, we may say that our turnover has come down, but then who are the people are retaining? Are we retaining the people that we want to retain, or are we losing people whom we don't want to lose? So merely a number, high or low, does not really give you the right picture. That's why I say it's only a tip of the iceberg. A number may not say everything. We need to go deeper into the number. So people may wonder, I'm confused. Should I be happy or should I act? So the oh my God metrics changes how we report metrics. For example, just the way in which turnover is reported, right? Here's a standard turnover report. We had a turnover of 18% turnover last year. Of that, 98 salespeople left. Okay. Suddenly now you said, okay, of the turnover, 98 people left. That's interesting. But again, it's a so what? So now let me shift this into an oh my God metrics. So what I would say is I worked with the CFO and then calculated the cost of turnover. So of the 98 people that left, 26% were top ranked performers. So suddenly the CEO wakes up, oh, I lost 1/4 of my top performers. Of those 98 people, 1/4 of them were top performers. And then in the vacant sales territory, we lost 4 million customers. Sorry, $4 million value customer, in the sense that that business value was $10 million, and we lost 4 such customers because my territory was vacant. And because my territory was vacant, it resulted in 303 sales vacancy days. And at an average of $4,000 sale per day, it was a loss of about $1.2 million. And you know what? The new hires performed 8% below the people they replaced, because they take time to adjust, they take time to understand the market, understand the company, to time to deliver. We lost 8% in terms of our revenue, and that cost us something about $79 million. And you know what? 50% of the turnover is preventable. Maybe the guy asked for a 1,000 rupee hike or a 2,000 rupee hike, or maybe the guy asked to work from home, or maybe that lady wanted to work from home. We said no, and then we lost. So 50% of the attrition was preventable. And the worst part of it, if we were able to analyze and go back and tell the CXOs that 26% of the turn went to competitors. And you know, the moment we talk about competition, research shows that it costs us 2 times more. So when I measure all this opportunity loss, which I call it, it cost the company $166 million, or about 6.2% of the corporate revenue. If I just went and reported 18% attrition, it would have been a so what metrics. But now I've been able to go back and tell the business leaders and the CEOs saying that we lost top ranking performers, we lost 4 potential $10 million customers. The vacancies cost us $1.2 million in the market, on the field, because our new entrants were lower performance than the previous people. We lost about $79 million. Actually, we could have prevented it, and 26% of them went to competition. And as a result of that, 6.2% of our corporate revenue was dented. Then I think the CEO, the CXOs all really wake up to HR and will stand by us. And I'm also telling you that the projected turn for next year is 15%. So if at 18% attrition, I have lost about $166 million, we are forewarning business saying that, guys, if we don't address this issue of attrition, we may end up with another $150 million of loss the next year. And then you know what? By the way, the stay interview tool costs the stay interview tool cuts turnover by half. We asked for $10,000 for the stay interview tool, and it was turned down. HR said we want to buy a software called the stay interview tool worth $10,000, but the business said no. Without realizing that if you had invested $10,000, I could have cut down my attrition cost from 160 million to about 80 million. And you know what? We gave a salary increase of 4%, and the market paid out 7%. So CFO thought he was doing a great job by cutting down the cost of increment from 7 to 4%, without realizing that the company actually lost $166 million because of this. So that's what I'm saying here. In the end, the CEO and the CFO saved 38%, 3% in the salary budget, but ended up losing $166 million in opportunity sales. If only HR could have used the business metric impact approach, they could have saved the company from loss and also saved their face. So this is the power of what I call the oh my God metrics, or the business impact metrics. This is how we should be reporting back to business in the form of metrics, and not just as an ordinary so what metrics. Any questions or clarifications people want?
This is very interesting and insightful, Ramesh.
Yeah. So this is how, again, as I said, paucity of time, I can just give you one example. I can give you at every stage, how do we represent data in this form?
This would also mean that our underlying processes which measure efficiency, accuracy, productivity are all in place, and our robust systems which are giving us real time or dynamic changes which are happening, right? So
No, I agree. See, I believe me, even today, I know that you've seen, I've written an article recently that despite all the technological advancement, Excel is still the go-to tool in most organizations.
yes, yes,
So we are not in a Alice in Wonderland where everything is hunky-dory. There will still be challenges, but if there is a determined HR team, they can crack it and get the data and then go back and demonstrate how it impacts business.
right, right. I agree.
Yeah. So another way, how do we represent data? This is another way, what we call as a pictorial way of representing metrics or data, right? Here, if you see here, the potential effect, if no action is taken, is $14.4 million. And this particular metric is going to is impact the corporate goal in terms of business growth. So the HR metrics we are trying to measure here is offer aborts. This is a huge challenge even today. Other day we were in an NHRD program day first today. People told me even at the CEO level they've got 50% offer aborts. So number of candidates not showing after taking the offer, right? So in this particular case, this quarter's offer abort was 38 numbers, which has resulted in 14%. And the projected annual offer abort is about 144, which could be about 15%. The potential opportunity loss is about $14.4 million. And you know what? Last year's offer abort was 118 or 10.5%. That means we are doing worse than last year. Last year was 10.5, and this year it's going to be 50% more. And the best in industry is 5%. That means we are 2/3 behind the industry. The cause is no follow-up on the candidates after the offer is made. There is limited candidate engagement. So what is the solution? What is the HR asking for? HR is saying appoint a dedicated candidate warming executive to constantly be in touch and communicate and keep the prospective employee engaged. And we are asking for $50,000 per annum, right? The businesses may say, hey, $50,000, I'm not going to add any headcount, I'm not going to spend $50,000. But if they don't invest on this, the potential loss is $14.4 million. And then we are saying who's accountable for it? The staffing manager. So if you are able to go back and present to the business, if you saw in the previous case, it was asking for a stay interview tool. And here we're talking about a candidate engagement manager to hire. Many times, believe me, I have had situations in life where certain key positions in HR have been turned down by business because of recession, because of financial constraints. But because we were not able to go back and articulate what is it, the impact of this on business, we also lost, the business also lost. But if we were well versed in data and analytics and knew this trick and able to go back and demonstrate to business, but by cutting down this cost, what is the opportunity lost to the company? I'm sure no CEO or CFO will turn down a request for such investments. So I know we got on that 15 minutes to go. Any questions so far on this, what I call as the CEO attention grabbing metrics and how to present the metrics?
Ramesh, I wanted to check, do you have like a recommended list of metrics that every HR should necessarily look into? Whether it's for business or otherwise, what the HR heads should constantly look at?
Yes. So just hang on. I have two solutions for that. Just hang on. By end of the program, you'll know that. Just give me a
Sure,
15
sure,
minutes.
sure.
So I'm just next touching at a very, very high level. As I said, 75 minutes, I can't do justice, but I'm just giving you a flavor of what analytics all about. I'm going to briefly talk about predictive HR analytics. As you know, it's an advanced data-driven approach that applies statistical analysis, machine learning, modeling techniques to HR data. And I know when I put up that slide, when I talk about metrics, how do you feel emotionally? HR people get scared when we say it's going to be based on statistical analysis, machine learning, modeling, right? I think it's about time that HR gets friendly with machine learning, with AI, with deep learning, repetitive learning, and other, and of course AI at this point of time. So predictive analytics actually involves using historical and current data. As they rightly say, the past is the prediction of the future. As much as we don't want to believe in it, but largely predictive analytics or prediction is all about the past. So trying to understand the past data and then identify in the past data, what are some of the trends that we see? What are some of the patterns that we see? And as a result of that, do I see any opportunities for the future? So it's about trying to forecast the future trends and then make informed decisions within an organization's workforce. I'll just give you, I don't know whether I'm covering it here. I'll just give you a simple example for you all to understand. I used to work for a large multinational, and we were at that point of time. This was about 10 years back. We didn't have such sophisticated analytics and tools. It was all Excel based and manual. So we were trying to find out in terms of predicting where should we hire people from. We were hiring a large number of people from the campuses, and then we wanted to see which is the right place to go and hire, because we had a lot of pressure in terms of costs and other factors. We also saw a lot of churn happening in the newly joined people from the campuses. So what we did is we went back and saw the last 10 years data of people that we hired from the various campuses. And then we realized, when I hired people from this particular campus or from this particular location or from this particular domain, what's my attrition looking like? And therefore, we saw patterns that if I have people from a particular college with a particular pay package, the chances are these students will not last more than 12 months or 13 months. And therefore, I should avoid them, or I should bump up their salary package. So this is how we went into the past data and then analyzed it. And then we said, okay, what are the corrective measures that we need to take so that in future I can extend that average tenure of this campus has from 13 months to 20 months or 24 months. So that's what at a very high level in a simple language predictive analytics about. It's about trying to collect the data. We think data collection is very easy. Believe me, even today, most companies struggle in terms of data. All of us have data. And again, believe me, in most organizations, even today, one of the top topics for HR is about data cleansing and data quality of data, right? How clean is my data? How updated is my data? People don't update their marital status, their family details, their addresses, their qualifications, their preferences, and therefore data is not particularly clean. And if you don't have clean data, you cannot really do a good job in terms of analytics. And then you need to understand from that data, what are the variables you're looking for? And then what are the variables? How are they correlating with each other? So that's what we call as feature selection. We may have tons of data, but from that data, what are the variables that you're looking for? And then how are these variables correlating with each other? Just give me a minute, I'll share with you in a couple of slides this. And then based on that, I build a model, right? Using statistical tools like SPSS, I build a model, and then I create algorithms. Today, thankfully, with AI coming in, algorithms can be manually developed or automatically developed based on the patterns and data that we see. And then using models like regression analysis and then neural networks, we can build models. And then we can test that particular model on a past data, what we call as experiment data, and then the actual data. Experimented, apply this particular model, and then see what the results are. And if the results as a result of this experimentation matches with that of the actual result of the past, then you know that this model works. Again, from experience, I can tell you no model can give you 100% validity or reliability. If the model is about 75% plus accurate, then it's good to go, which means your predictive accuracy could be about 75%. There's no model can give you 100% accuracy. And then, of course, once you have tested your model, once you have developed your model, then you have tested your model, and then evaluated your model, you can go and deploy it, and then you have a predictive analytics capability in your organization. So some examples of where predictive analytics are used, say in terms of predicting turnover risk. Who are the people who are likely to lose? Who are the people who are likely to stay? That's the predictive analytics we can be used for turnover risk. For attrition drivers, right? Is it work from home which is driving attrition? Or is it promotion which is driving attrition? Is it compensation driving attrition? Is it the manager who is driving attrition? Or is it my benefits which is driving attrition? So what contributes to those, what we call as drivers to your retention or attrition is another example where you can use predictive analytics. There's a company, I think ABB, if I remember right, who has got an early warnings system where it can flag people who, I see some erratic behavior, some unusual behavior of this particular employee, and therefore it flags him. And if he's, of course, a key or critical employee to the company can, the HR and the manager can intervene to take corrective actions to help the person stay back. Or on the other side, if you find an erratic behavior of a person who's likely to disrupt the workplace or become toxic at the workplace, you can take corrective action. So that's what we call the early warning system, which one of the companies I know has implemented it. You can also use predictive analytics in the context of candidate sourcing. There's a lot of pressure in terms of cost per hire. There's a lot of pressure in terms of time to hire and in terms of quality of hire. So where do we source a candidate from? Should I go to the tier 1 colleges? Should I go to the tier 2 colleges? Should I go to the tier 1 cities, tier 2 cities? Should I source it through at the bottom of the pyramid? Should I source it through lateral hires? These are all the questions which we have. And here, this is where my predictive analytics helps me in terms of where do I source my candidate from. And also in terms of time to fill, you can use predictive analytics to, if somebody asks you that I want to hire this particular person, how do I tell him that how long do I have to wait? Is it 10 days? Is it 30 days? Is it 45 days? Is it 90 days? Is it 120 days? So predictive analytics can help you in terms of predicting how long it will take to get a person on board. And then, of course, predictive analytics also helps you in terms of candidate fit. So some of the tools and softwares that can be used as predictive analytics, HRIS, of course, most modern HRIS like Workdays, SAP, PeopleSoft, Darwinbox. There's so many other tools which are there today, which have inbuilt analytics and predictive analytics. Believe me, when you want these tools, when you want these features, you have to pay a premium. Maybe a standard tool may come at costing 100 rupees per employee. But if you want to add on this particular feature of analytics, and then on top of the analytics, you want to add predictive analytics, you may have to shell out another 20, 30 rupees extra. Then, of course, you can do it your own tools like data visualization tools like Tableau, Power BI, and of course, Excel is also used for creating visualizations. Because people don't want to see numbers, they get tired of numbers. Now, how do I represent data in a visually appealing manner? And then, as I said some time back, I think one of the person was asking me, there are statistical softwares like R and Python, which are commonly used for data analysis and modeling. A rapid miner tool is one of the tools which is very popular. I've used it extensively. The tool is so good that you can get it is free up to 10,000 users, and I think 1 million content or 1 million content. It can go through 1 million content with and then take about 10,000 variables and then analyze and give you. A common human being can probably take 3 or 4 or 5 variables. I can take attrition, I can take compensation, I can take manager, I can take the tenure and then do an analysis. But with rapid miner tools, what I call a rapid miner tool, it can take into consideration even 10,000 variables analyzing 1 million data and then tell you what are the correlation and what is the prediction about it. And of course, you got machine learning today, and then specialized analytics software tools like Visio, Workday, and PeopleSoft for HR and people analytics. Some of the challenges, we all take things for granted. Believe me, there are challenges even in the Googles and the Apples and the Amazons. So data source is still a challenge. We think it's taken for granted, but no, the flow of data, the quality of data, the cleanliness of data is a challenge. So that's why analytics relies on various data sources from HRIS information system, from employee performance records, from surveys and feedbacks, from recruitment data, compensation and benefit information, employer demographics. We need to take all of them into consideration and then have a seamless integration of that, generate the big data, and then see what are the patterns and insights, and then work out on a predictive analytics. This is what I was talking about. What are some of the correlation of HR variables? These are some simple 2x2 variables. Correlation between job satisfaction and employee turnover. What is the correlation between employee engagement and productivity, training and development and employee retention, diversity, inclusion, and organization performance, right? We speak so much about diversity and inclusion, but does it have a correlation to organizational performance, employee motivation and job performance, compensation, employee satisfaction, and so on and so forth? So these are just two variables. You can have three variables, you can have five variables, 10 variables, you can have 1,000 variables also. Thanks to technology, you can take all of these variables in consideration and see how it impacts, how they relate to each other, how it impacts with each other, and ultimately how it impacts the business results. So I want to say this, there's a fad for investment in technology in HRMS and analytics. So get all the information you can. We'll think of a use for it later. Even today, believe me, if you ask business, if you ask employees, they all have one problem with HR. They say, you guys keep coming on and on and on asking us to update data in different forms. I have filled that form 100 times. You keep coming and asking me again and again, for success factor, fill up your profile again. Say for my ERP, fill up this profile again. Say for my training and development, fill up this profile again. For something else, fill up this profile again. HR loves to collect data. And people say, you're collecting all this data, you're doing all these surveys. What are you doing with it? Right? So I want to caution people saying that it's great to collect data, but then it's not what the software does, it's what the user does. So what do we do with the data? How do we analyze that particular data? What are the patterns that we see in it? What are the insights that you see in it? Based on that, what are some of the lessons that we have learned? What are some of the predictions that we can make? And what is it that I can prescribe for the future? Only then it makes sense to embark on a journey of HR analytics. And somebody asked me, can you share with me all the metrics? What are some other things? As I said, this webinar is only addressing the tip of the iceberg. What I've covered here is probably 1/10 of what normally I would be able to cover. If you really want to go into depth of it, understand more of it, please join us in attending our program, which is coming up 3 weeks from now, a 2-day workshop measuring the ROI and investment in people, a 2-day workshop. It is a hybrid program for people in Bangalore. I would encourage all of the participants to come physically. And of course, people outside of Bangalore can attend virtually. It's a 2-day program, a certification program where we'll also issue a certificate from the Global HR Academy. You can also buy my book, read my book rather. I'm not selling it here, but I've written a book on analytics called Making People Count. It has got an forward written by Dave Woldrick. And if you are interested, you can buy this book on Amazon, Kindle, and Google Book. So this is what I wanted to share. As I said, the tip of the iceberg, give you a flavor of what HR analytics is all about. And I hope I've been able to kindle some interest in you and encourage you to go deeper into it. So, any questions? As we come to the end of the webinar, I'll be happy to answer questions.
It was very insightful, Ramesh, and we've
Yeah.
heard about all of this uh, in the past as well. But I think sometimes the examples that you gave kind of will make us think through and reflect when we are actually looking at data and collecting data. So
Right.
it's just giving us the direction in which we should start thinking as HR professionals. I just ordered your book actually. While you were describing, before you just talked about your book, I kept thinking that I should read your book. It talks a lot about the ROI. And I think for
Right.
HR professionals today, that is one of the major challenges, to actually even share insights about what they think and what is that value add that HR professional is making at the table, right?
Right.
Otherwise, why do we need HR? We can do a lot of things through automation.
Yes.
To that value add piece thing. For me, this was a very useful session.
Believe me, if you walk across Koramangala and HSR layout, there are hundreds of startups. And I do mentor and consult with a few of them. In most of them, at the early stage of startup, there's no HR. And if ever there is an HR, some places they think HR is more about recruitment and more about payroll, right?
Right.
They don't see
Right.
HR as a strategic partner because they don't see how HR adds value to business. And that's
Right.
why I believe that if you are able to master analytics and be able to go back and demonstrate how HR adds value to business through numbers, then I
Right.
think we will be at the seat of the round table.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Any observations, questions?
This is really fantastic, Ramesh. The thing is, yes, we used to present the data to the business, but how actually to grab their attention is something which definitely adds value. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
all this is in our minds, but to put it in a scientific way across was something really good. And yes, I'm going to register for the 2-day workshop. It's wonderful.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Any other quick reactions? Venkat or Sahara or other? Anusha? Ashoka, of course, that's right.
Yeah, thanks. It was a very interesting session. Very, very interesting. I didn't expect it would be so interesting because I thought that I had to understand more about the reason why I registered for this session is that as a faculty, I wanted to update myself in the actually what's happening, to know what's happening in the industry.
Right.
And yes, it's very, very interesting. I wish I could register for this workshop, but unfortunately, I'm busy those 2 days, so I can't. But yes, definitely, I look forward to some other workshop that you would be conducting. And I
Sure.
would like to attend a workshop. In fact, I was about to request that if at all you could conduct a workshop on this. Now that you're already conducting this, I'll try to register, but then I think this time I won't be able to make it. But next time, definitely, I look forward to it.
Yeah, we will repeat this workshop every quarter, let's see, depending on the demand. But
Mm-hmm.
I do conduct a lot of public workshops in the past, so therefore I know there's a lot of interest and demand. So we will do it at JHRC probably at least twice a year. We'll do this.
Please do let me know if at all you conduct this workshop in Hyderabad anytime.
Yeah, we could do that also. If there are enough participants, we'll be more than happy to come down to Hyderabad and do it physically also.
I would really love to attend a workshop like this in Hyderabad.
Sure.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank you.
How do we register for the workshop on the 17th
Yeah,
and 18th?
we'll send you the link will be ready on Monday. Ritika is part of my team who manages events, so we're working on that. There will be I didn't want to do it before this program, so on Monday we will publish the program details and how to register for that.
Sure. Thank you.
This is Ashoka.
Yeah, Ashoka.
Great session, and really industry wants at this hour this particular skill sets, and I think it is very good insights. I encourage all younger generation to uplift their own knowledge through this program. Thank you.
Why only younger, Ashoka, including you?
See, but younger generation should focus more on this so that all the senior people, they have done their time and at least they know what exactly happening in the industry. But younger people, they are still need to be really upgrade their skills, and that is what all industries are looking for.
Right. And how do they grab the attention of the CXOs and CEO?
Right.
Right. So then, thank you all of you all. If there are no further questions, once again, thank you all of you all for having taken your time off on a Saturday morning. I encourage all of you all to consider becoming a member of the Global HR community. We have a lot of initiatives and programs lined up for you. And then those of you all want to take this further in terms of understanding the ROI on investment made on people, please sign in for our workshop, which is coming up on the 17th and 18th of May. Even otherwise, you can be in touch with me on LinkedIn or through our GHRC portal. And once again, thank you. Have a
So,
good weekend.
Ramesh, I just have one question. See,
Tell
now
me.
if you're going to join the online session on the 17th and 18th, if at all you're going to do a session sometime later in Hyderabad, then can we do that as well?
Yeah, as I said, Hyderabad one, I don't have visibility at this point of time because, flying down there or physically organizing costs a lot of money. If you have enough participants or if somebody wants to sponsor it, will be more than if you want to do a specific program for your college or for with the T Hub, we'll be more than happy to do that.
No, agreed. What my question is, if I do this online course on the 17th and the 18th, in addition to that, if in future by any chance you're doing it in Hyderabad, can we walk in then?
Yeah, we can always work it out. Not an issue.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Ramesh, would you be sharing the presentation with us? No?
The webinar video will be available on the website.
Website. All right. Okay. I was very intrigued by one of the slides, but I couldn't make enough notes. That's why.
So the webinar recording will be available on the GHRC portal and on YouTube.
Sure. Thank you.
So thank you, all of you all. Have a good weekend. And somebody started. Okay. And I'll hope to be in touch and look forward. There's a next webinar which is happening next Saturday where Shrikant would be taking us through the purpose, right? Wow. How do you understand what's the purpose? And it's going to be another webinar being organized with the help of Shrikant. And I encourage those of you who are interested to participate in it. Thank you.